Everybody, and welcome to Tuesday Training. I hope you're having a fantastic week. As always,
we are live from Austin, Texas, right here at Insurance Syndicate headquarters, and man, we have a great show for you.
Good morning. What is happening, man? Good morning. Hope everybody's doing all right. Just to confirm, because we were having a wee bit of tech problems, drop it in the comments that you can hear me loud and clear. But it is fantastic to be with you guys on this lovely Tuesday morning here in Austin, Texas. And as always, we are live right here from Insurance Syndicate headquarters. We are bringing a little different topic most of the time on Tuesday Training. Especially if I don't have a guest, I'm just up here rambling about Medicare stuff. But today we have a very, very, very special episode to talk to you guys about. Basically, there is a bill that is moving through Congress right now that could impact about 5% of the trucking workforce in the United States. And from what we gather, most insurance agents don't even know what the hell's going on with it, haven't even heard about it. And today we're going to break down everything about what that bill means, not just for trucking companies, but more importantly for the agents who insure them. So please, please, please buckle up and get your pens and paper and get your questions ready, right? As we go through this topic, like drop any questions that you have in the chat. But before we dive in, as always, this show is brought to you by DFY CRM, which is my CRM of choice. If you're still an agent out there and for some reason you don't have a CRM, you need to give my buddies over at DFY a call, Eric Fierro, Tim James. Let them give you a demo and get you hooked up. But without further ado, we are going to be joined by a commercial trucking expert from right here at Clearview Insurance in Austin, Texas, that is going to lay down the facts on this bill and tell you guys what you are up against, what you should be looking for, and prepare yourself. So without further ado, Mr. Todd Wilson is on the stage. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
It is good to see you. Good to be here. I just want to dive right into this because it's a deep topic, and I want to make sure that we get as much of this covered as we can in the hour. So if you don't mind, kind of at a high, broad level, kind of an overview, what exactly is this bill that's gotten passed? Like, it's already gotten passed for the most part, from what I understand, in the House and maybe even in the Senate. But tell us a little bit about what the bill is and kind of what it means for people in the trucking and insurance space.
Sure. Yeah. And I mean, you said it right. It is a huge obstacle to maneuver around, especially for us in the insurance industry. We're going to see a lot of people impacted by it. A lot of company owner operators specifically impacted by it, whether you're doing life and health side of things on the insurance and catering to that trucking segment, commercial auto segment. I think I may have lost my comms there for a second.
Yeah, I noticed that. I didn't know if it was my headphones or you, but we lost audio for just a brief moment.
Yeah, I'll try to stay on top of that. I didn't click anything. My hands are right here, so I don't know what's going on with that. But as I was saying there, so we're going to see a tighter regulation on immigration laws and English proficiency regarding non-domiciled CDL drivers. So
non-domiciled CDL drivers.
Correct. Meaning I'm not a U.S. citizen. Either I'm here seeking asylum or I'm here on a green card status.
Okay.
Whatever that may be, right?
Understood completely. From what I understand, like, it's already passed through the House, so it's not fully in play yet. But I would suspect that Senate's probably going to pass it right? Like most likely this is probably going to cruise on through.
Yeah, it's looking day by day. It's looking. I believe I was looking at it. It's like a 35% leaning against to that. That 65% for in favor
Right.
of tightening the restrictions. Now, what are those restrictions ultimately gonna be long term? That's gonna be Senate, right?
Okay.
Congress. So I believe it is in Senate right now. The Senate has voted on it, voted in favor for it for the majority, and now we're looking at the Congress play.
Okay. Are there any specific key changes that the bill is proposing that you can kind of speak about?
Yes.
Like CDL requirements or driver qualifications? And then boom, we lost audio again. Wow. Not sure what's happening with our little audio system here. Usually this thing runs like jam, but today it's StreamYard's being a little weird with us.
Yeah, I think it's I'm back on now.
Yes, sir.
It's got a delay on my side. For some reason it keeps muting my mic, but we'll keep playing ball here.
Keep your eyes on it.
Right. That's right. So so your question was
What are like some of the key changes that they're proposing in regards to like CDL requirements or maybe driver qualifications? Again with that mute button.
I have no idea why that
Why is it auto muting you? We'll have to figure that out later. Look out for our next episode and where we teach agents how to properly use StreamYard.
Yeah.
That's coming up next.
Is this thing on? Is this thing on?
It's on.
Current status, if you are a CDL driver, you're looking at biennial updates, right? Every 2 years. If you are a non-domiciled CDL driver, that requirement is now changing to every 1 year. And in addition to that, newly licensed CDLs or people that are attempting to go after their CDL formally have had the ability to take that test in a different language. So that's one of the big changes we're going to see here is that now they're going to be required to take that test in English. And when I say, they have the ability to take that test in different languages, I'm talking about like 25 plus different languages, right?
Oh, wow.
And then they also have the ability to use a translator while they're taking that test. There's a lot of ins and outs and intricacies that go behind that too. So
check your mute.
Man, that message has got a delay on it. I'll tell
Yeah.
you. It mutes me on your end, and then 20 seconds later I see it on mine. So we're gonna overcome though. We're gonna
overcome. We might even reshoot this later. So the article and certainly the headline of when we put this up there was that they're estimating 200,000 drivers. Like, do you think that's a realistic number?
I do think that that's a realistic number.
And if even a fraction of those drivers obviously can't get through the new requirements or they leave the workforce altogether as truckers, how do you feel like that's going to affect? Let's just talk about like maybe the companies first, like those companies that have those drivers. How is that going to impact them? I assume they're going to have a driver shortage. So what
Sure.
kind of problems are they going to face first before you could ripple that down to the insurance agent?
Yeah, so there is going to be a labor shortage right off the rip. There's a lot of angles to explore here. A lot of these companies, everyone complains about low paying loads, right? That's going to be number one, where we're going to see with the labor shortage, the rebound effect on.
Hit your mute button.
Man, that delay is killing me. I'm telling you.
It is what it is. Just keep your eyes peeled on it.
Yeah. Well, and it's just you tell me it's muted, and then I don't get to unmute it until 20 seconds later. So it's
understood. So driver shortage is obviously going to create problems. You mentioned low paying loads.
right.
What other issues do you think we might see from that?
Well, and that's current status too. That's probably one of the most common that I hear in the industry right now in the current state, right? Low paying loads, and everybody complains.
This is a wee frustrating.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the fix is here, man, if I'm being honest.
No worries.
Let me do something on my end and see if this fixes.
All right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you great.
Okay.
Actually, quite a bit louder and clearer. Okay. What do you change now?
I took it off of the Rodecaster here, and we're just going to try to rock off my headphones. So
it sounds a lot better.
Yeah, we'll see if that is the solution there. So
yeah, no, that's much better. So let's just stick with that.
Yeah.
So labor shortage, low paying loads.
So with the labor shortage, what we'll see is, a lot of companies will be in contention for higher paying loads, right? The logistics companies that are offloading these lower paying loads currently, what's the rebound effect of that? Well, we don't have that labor market that we can cater to with those lower paying loads. So the increase on price is going to obviously rebound for them.
Freight costs, right? You're talking about freight costs going up.
Freight cost is, and that's I'm talking positive. How does this affect the current companies in a positive way?
Okay.
Right. Where I kind of want to look at silver lining and keep, as much as we can, keep politics completely out of this. Although it is a bill that's being passed and a law that we're looking at, enforcing. But at the end of the day, we have to find a silver lining and continue on, right? With the goods are still going to need to be, delivered to companies so that they can be sold to the consumer at the end of the day. I mean, we're not going to see just, logistics companies nationwide just shutting down because, we've got tighter laws around it, revolving around immigration and English speaking, drivers. That's a huge, let's look at the positive here,
Okay. Yeah.
Also, safety scores. We're going to see that's a huge one of my, P&C space here, which may make a company ineligible for insurance next year, and ineligible for specific carriers that offer, decent rates at the end of the day. We're going to see those safety scores starting to, become more attractive to those carriers. Where, you can get placed out of service for really, quite frankly, on the driver's side of things, not being able to speak English altogether, not being able to answer particular questions when you're pulled over by a DOT compliance officer. That's an out of service. And that one driver affects the whole company.
Help me, because I can't even spell P&C. When you say out of service.
Yeah. So there's different ways that when we're looking at a company's overall safety score, we're looking at their out of services, essentially. So you have your vehicle out of services, and then you have your driver out of services. Completely different. Driver out of services can be, for being overweight, for not having your CDL updated, right? Which is kind of the topic that we're talking about today. For running outside of what you're allowed to run on a daily basis, those hours, being over on your ELD logs, not keeping up with your ELD logs. And those are the brass tacks of it. That's ultimately the easiest to control for the company. The hardest to control for the company is the vehicle. You can never do your check downs, and when you leave, before you go get that load, when you come back with the load, a lot of things can happen in between. They can hit you for an out of service, low air pressure on your tires for having one light. I mean, you see these trucks, they have lots of lighting on them. One of those lights is out, auxiliary lights, boom, that's an out of service.
Wow.
Faulty equipment, the list goes on and on and on. Now, what we're talking about today is those driver out of services specifically, which is, again, one of the easiest controls that a company should be able to maintain. And that's why we see a national average of those be a lot less than those vehicle out of services. And that's, again, that proficiency, especially when we're talking about on a CDL driver, this is a commercial driver's license. You're driving a tank.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, that tank has loss of life written all over it. It has the capability of causing significant and substantial damage. So it's really important, in my opinion, that we are all on kind of the same playing field, and that, as a nation, the vehicles that are on the road can read stop signs, can read speed limit signs, can read low clearance signs, things like that, you see it all day on Instagram and TikToks and stuff like that. Trucks driving under bridges, low clearance. And I mean, if you can't read that freaking sign at the end of the day, man,
just real quick sidebar. Do you think that is an English proficiency problem, or do you think that is just the driver doesn't know how tall his own truck is?
It's probably both. If you don't know how tall your truck is, man, I mean, you probably shouldn't be sitting in that seat, though, right?
Maybe so. Okay. When you think about, because you're obviously in the trucking space, right? You're very good at it. You have a bunch of clients that you're working with of different sizes. When you think about your clients that are commercial truckers, are there certain operators, smaller, bigger, or certain segments that you think it would have more friction for, or might even risk pushing them out of the market?
Yeah. And again, it's probably those guys that aren't running in a dedicated lane right now, meaning that they have, a contract that they've been pretty much vetted for. You see those hot shot operations, you see these just general freight. I'm willing to haul anything and everything. I work with a freight broker, and I'm hauling for Walmart today and Lowe's tomorrow and Costco the next day. Those kinds of guys. That's probably the markets that are going to be hit the hardest. And especially, I'd say especially the hotshot auto haulers, where, and I mean, here's kind of the deal too, is that, we're not talking like, it's not a one size fits all operation when we're talking commercial auto. Right. So like some of these industries that I just mentioned, you don't necessarily, depending on what we're hauling, and really it's more like what we're driving. Is it necessary for me to even have a CDL? Right. Like I have box truck operations, I have hot shotters that don't have CDLs, and they're just running, their truck with a trailer, or, a 16-foot box truck that I can rent from Penske, Hertz, Enterprise. Those kinds of guys, don't necessarily have to have that CDL. Does the CDL advocate for you on the insurance side of things? Most certainly. But where does the CDL come into play? I think that's the most important piece that most people, when we're looking at a macro level here, are missing on, is that these are the guys that are predominantly driving 18-wheelers.
Right.
So, and they have a hell of a lot heavier of a load that they're carrying too. Their weight class is significantly different. So, and this is the industry, in my opinion, the whole industry should be tightened up a little bit. I'll push for that all day long, if I'm being honest. I know that hurts us on the insurance side of things a little bit. We potentially maybe see companies being phased out because they can't maintain that safety score. So then, a Progressive, a Geico is not going to look at them just because their safety rating's a little bit higher, right?
You're talking about the trucking company can't maintain their safety score?
Yeah, and I'm just talking about strictening up on the regulation at all, like altogether. Okay. I think that CDL is a good place to start, but I would venture to say that we start to see that trickle down into some of these other, maybe lower points of entry, right, in the space as well.
Because you don't need anything special to get one of those box trucks and drive around. You just need to have a regular driver license, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of where what I'm hinting at here is that, with those operations are a little bit more of a loose cannon too, right?
Right.
I mean, I can go open my own company today, call it Wilson Logistics, and
Get
be
a
off
box
to the
truck,
go.
start moving furniture, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Go rent a box truck from Penske. And again, we're talking about like you made an interesting point earlier. It's like I don't know the height of my box truck, right? So, and those are that's kind of where, like, one of the things that excites me about it is seeing how, this is like the first step into probably many changes that we'll see in the years to come.
Right. I mean, I would think this would head into a space where loss ratios are improved, right? On the trucking side, because I mean, if they're cleaning it up and they're creating some stricter regulations for the drivers, then therefore we should technically have more accurate or better drivers. And wouldn't that therefore create better loss ratios for the insurance companies and bring rates down over time? Or do you think it's going to maybe push insurance premiums up?
Well, so I think initially it pushes premiums up, but over time it drives them down.
Okay.
To your point, because we are seeing we've kind of phased out those companies that are a little bit more risky off the market.
Right.
And, once they leave, then yeah, overall, the national average on those out of services probably goes down, I would assume. We would certainly like to hope. And yes, I mean, the safer you are as a driver, the better your rate should be. I mean, it all reciprocates into your overall insurance score at the end of the day. So, why not? In theory, yes, it should. Now, however, when we're looking at phasing, on the initial side of that, we're looking at phasing a lot of these companies out. The insurance companies are going to start losing. Yeah, hey, I got a guy that he's 6 months in and he's getting canceled because of this now. And when I say 6 months in as my customer, right? He could be 3 years in as driver, or owner, operator, or whatever the case may be. But, at the end of the day, yeah, when we start to see a lot of these companies exit or just cut their labor down again, that's going to result in premium decrease. So the insurance companies are going to lose money on that initially. But yes, I mean, overall, once we start phasing some of these companies out, that, in return should have, if I'm not compliant on my CDL side of things, then, that makes me a more risky driver. And in my opinion, that's 100% the case.
Certainly. Have you, just curious, have you heard from any insurance carriers about this bill? Like, have they said anything on kind of how they're looking at it or what their expectations are? Or are they still kind of sitting and waiting to, make sure it actually passes the Senate, which it probably will? Because I was just looking it up a second ago. It has passed the House at 35-26, so it's moving forward and going to the Senate. I would suspect our current Senate to definitely pass it, like I said earlier. But just curious, has any carriers come out and made any comments about this bill yet?
No, that's going to be super hush hush until it actually comes to fruition, I think.
Right. So if you're an insurance agent like you are, what should an insurance agent be thinking about? If you're an insurance agent, obviously in commercial trucking, right? You have a book of business, or maybe, because I would think the guy that's pursuing commercial trucking right now, not as big a deal. But if you're an agent out there and you've got a book of business with a bunch of commercial drivers and trucking groups, like, what should you be thinking about? How do you think this might affect you or other agents?
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, it screams chargeback all day long.
Screams chargeback. How so?
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna lose premium. If those non-domiciled CDL drivers are, they have their CDLs revoked, and understand too that this doesn't happen overnight, right? This happens on their next update for their CDL. They're either going to be eligible to continue on with their CDL, or they're going to be labeled ineligible.
How often do they have to update their CDL?
And that's something I was talking through.
Thing?
Yeah, that's something I was talking through whenever I was losing my mic there. But yeah, it's right now for domiciled. So I am a U.S. citizen. It's 2 years. Biennial update is
Okay.
what they call that. And
Yep.
then for non-domiciled, it's every they're moving with this bill onto every year, once
Every
a
year.
year. Yeah.
Okay. So it's not a
So and you
situation where the bill would get approved and then every non-domiciled CDL driver would have to immediately go and get themselves redetermined. It'll wait
right.
until it's whenever their next year renewal comes up, and then they gotta, as they go through that renewal process, they'll have to face the new requirements and regulations.
Right. And I mean, because let's be honest, this is your federal government hard at work for you. This isn't going to happen overnight.
Of course not.
I mean, the bill may pass overnight. And you were talking about that passing through what Senate?
Yeah.
I believe that was last Wednesday that passed through Senate.
Oh, it did.
And
Okay.
yeah, because I was watching some of the recap on that and the left and right battling each other on it.
Oh, I
And
imagine.
yeah, it's there's a lot of hot topics revolving around it, open borders and things like that. Again, I'm not going to try to be political here because I want to be very clear.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a very neutral person when it comes to politics. So,
Well,
um,
at one level, like it comes down to, is this really a bill that's about safety, or is it more about reshaping the labor market in some other direction?
yeah,
Without
and
being political, what do you think? Do you think it is truly about safety?
well, I mean, yes, I believe it's about say so, and the root of why this law has been set into motion, and they're calling it like Delilah law, right?
And what's
Delilah,
that? Where's that from?
yeah. So Delilah was at the time, and this was 2024, I believe. Um, riding in the car, it's a 6-year-old girl riding in the car with her
Uh,
parents, and they were parked up at a stop sign, and an 18-wheeler smoked them from the rear because he couldn't read the stop sign, is what they're alleging. But he was an illegal citizen, and he was deported 2025. So this has been something that's been kind of in the works for a little while now. Obviously, I don't know, when was the last time you passed a law, Tony? Did
when
you
I
pass
when
one
I
this week?
passed a law or
Yeah,
broke a law,
passed one.
I don't pass
Did
laws. That's not what I
you
do
haven't
for a
passed
living.
you haven't passed one this week or this last quarter or anything like that?
No, sir.
Neither have I. So I don't know the intricacies of as to, what the timeline on that looks like. But if I had to guess, this has been in the works for, well over a year now
Makes
plus.
sense.
And, the FMCSA did tighten up last year on the English standards too. And they made, English the standard on those out of services too. So this is kind of piggybacking off of something that's already been in motion for the last year now.
Okay. Now, if let's just assume, because I mean, again, I'm pretty sure our Senate would pass it if they haven't already. What do you think the timeline might be on something like this before it's fully in play? Because I mean, you have drivers, because even if they put it in play like tomorrow, then you have drivers that are probably at least a year out before they
Yeah.
even have to do their renewal. But chances are it'll probably pass and implement maybe another year from now or something like that. Like they'll probably put a date. So what do you think? Maybe like say 2 years before we see the full effect of it?
Yeah, I'd say I mean honestly, I could see something like this. What are we? We're in April right now.
Mm-hmm.
I could see by Q4 it being implemented, and
Okay.
then a year out from that. So, and it's again, it's not going to happen overnight. Even
Of
if it
course not.
passes, even if and when it passes through Congress, it's still, I mean, there's going to be there's going to be timelines, and there's going to be, again, I'm not a lawmaker, so I don't know that the formalities of what it takes to actually make this pass and to hold it up. And state to state's going to be different, and we're going to have to train DOT compliance officers on it, and there's going to be a lot of ins and outs that come with it too.
Sure,
So I don't want to say, yeah, I mean, we're going to see once something like this passes, we're going to see cost of goods go up. We're going to see that because of that shortage of labor. We're going to
Because we have
see
a short,
things,
so okay, so we can't
yeah,
get. It's, yeah, if we have 200,000 drivers that aren't delivering produce or whatever.
right.
Okay,
Or just,
I
I
see
mean,
what
just
you're saying
general
now.
household goods, man.
Commodity
You
items,
know,
whatever it might be.
anything you can buy at Walmart at the end of the
Right.
day, you know. It's definitely gonna disrupt things for sure, but it's not gonna happen overnight.
Sure.
I mean, it really realistically can't happen overnight.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but yeah, I mean, and then it'll take some time to rebound off of it too, you know.
What's your biggest concern? Like when you think about your book of business and what you're doing in commercial trucking, right? Your clients, et cetera, like and the bill itself, like what is your biggest concern about it and how you're looking at it, thinking about it? Like, is there something about it that frightens you? Is there something about it that excites you?
Well, I would say I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm unbothered by it, but at the end of the day, you know, all of my guys know, you know, I can call all of them up. I'm sure they pick up on the first ring right now. But you know, my guys, when there's a vetting process that should take place, right? And that's something that I emphasize really heavy with any of my current customer base, where it's like, you know, hey, we're looking to add this guy on. What's it going to cost? You know, and at the end of the day, you know, I really, really emphasize, hey, man, the vetting process, run his MVR, run his criminal background check. That's going to tell you who he is, right? Put him through a driving test. That's going to show you if he can talk, that, you know, he can talk the talk and he can walk the walk, right? And then the next one's going to be drug test, man, because I'm not going to put you behind the wheel and then you're going to threaten my business with the potential of drug use, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a multi-tiered process that I hyper emphasize on every time because I've seen it happen. In the reverse side of things, where, you know, it can destroy a company when we're not keeping those checks and balances in place and knowing who we're hiring, right? And that's really in the industry, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But now, how's it going to affect my book of business? I mean, yeah, it's going to impact me a little bit. But I would advise any insurance agent, whether you're on that life and health space and you're catering to these 1099 truckers that don't get that W-2 group health, group life benefits, whether you're on the P&C side of things, I think, you know, just handle it with grace, man. Like, you know, at the end of the day, these guys, their livelihood, they're suffering too, you know, they're not, you're losing money because they're losing money.
Right.
So I would just say handle that with grace and compassion and do what you are supposed to do as an insurance agent.
That makes me think of something. So as an insurance agent, if I have a commercial trucking client and maybe he's got 5 drivers, right? Just theoretically, how much data can I see as the agent on those 5 drivers in regards to some of the CDL requirements, qualifications, whatever? Like, do I have access to that kind of information where I can see what their scores are or what their risk is? Or am I just like, oh, that's John, he drives for J&J's Trucking, that's all I know?
Not really. Outside of an MVR hit, which is going to show not only what kind of violations that they've, you know, suffered on the CDL side of things, but it's also going to show what kind of driver they are, you know, when they get off work and they're driving their personal vehicles too. You know, as on the insurance side of things, I only see LexisNexis reports, MVR runs, those kinds of things. I can dig into, you know, just off of the federal FMCSA safer snapshot, I can see a lot about the company and how safe the overall company is. But for each driver, you know, that's an individual MVR run right there. And the CDL doesn't really come into play as to, you know, what loads they've been running. I can't track them based off of their CDL, if that's what you're asking there.
Okay. Have any of your trucking clients brought this up? Have you started having conversations with them about
Not yet.
the possibility of it? Not yet. Okay.
Not yet. Yeah. I know that those conversations are going to be coming soon, though,
Yeah.
for sure.
How much of, just curious, like we opened the show like, hey, there's this new bill that's getting passed. Insurance agents probably still haven't even heard about it. How many of the commercial truckers do you think are even aware that this is coming
Well,
down the pipe?
yeah. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of, I'm seeing a lot of guys that shoot podcasts and stuff revolving around the trucking industry, talk about it and bring truckers
Okay.
on and ask them how they're feeling about it. Man, I'll tell you right now that, if you're in that industry, you know about that industry. You got nothing
Right.
but time on your hands when you're behind the wheel,
Right.
You're listening to the
Makes sense.
radio, you're listening to these podcasts, you're listening to everything that revolves around the industry, and just again, because you got an 8-hour trip in front of you, so at the end of the day, especially if they're company owner operators, they or just company owners, they're going to want to know about their company.
Right. So kind of going back to the agent, like what should I be doing? Like, should I just sit here and wait? Should I be looking at my whole book of all my commercial truckers and start having conversations with them? How do I prepare myself for some of the possible ramifications? Do I just realize like, all right, I've got a bunch of commercial truckers. I'm probably going to lose some drivers. I might even see one of my small operators get put out of business. I should maybe buckle down and because I might get some chargebacks. Or should I look at this and be like, all right, this is an opportunity where while I might lose some business, I can prepare some of my accounts for better opportunities, better safety scores, improved rates. Like,
Sure.
that's what I'm kind of trying to think of. Like, as the agent, like, how do I tactically prepare myself for how this is going to affect me, negative or
Yeah.
positive?
Right. So the initial bill, it stands to affect 5% of the industry on average.
Yeah, it's like 200,000 drivers, they said.
Yeah, so and yeah, I mean 200,000 sounds like a big number, right? But then when we're talking about like, okay, so 200,000 drivers is 5% of the industry. I mean, think about
Yeah.
that one, for just stew on that one for a second,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what I would say is it's gonna be darn hard to track your non-domiciled CDLs drivers right now, right? On who's non-domiciled CDL drivers on my current book of business. However, moving forward, that's going to be something we're probably going to want to notate, and we're
Mhm.
probably going to want to put over here and be like, hey, we need to revisit this conversation here in a year and make sure, this guy's still got a CDL and still eligible to be driving. If not, then we're, on to the next. And strategy, with the owner operator, their owner. I'm sorry, I keep saying owner operator because I deal with a lot of owner operators, but with the owner, strategy there is, hey, if this guy's CDL isn't going to be renewed because his visa has expired or for whatever reason, right? We need to be talking strategy and getting somebody into that seat, or you know that means less loads for you and
Yeah.
less profitability on the company side of things.
Do you think it's an opportunity for some agents to learn how to differentiate themselves from the herd and maybe take advantage of it?
Yeah, I do. And I mean, any good agent right now is going to be reading between the lines on this and understanding the right questions to ask moving forward. I think,
What are those questions to ask, you think?
well, it's do you vet your drivers? That's number one, man. I mean,
Okay.
and if I'm being completely honest too, like we don't write bad business over here. I mean,
Sure.
companies fail every day though. That's a variable that's not controllable, you know. There's life events, anything and everything is relevant, right? So, we do see companies enter and exit the market, but at the end of the day, if you're writing good business, you're writing good business, and that's what
Mhm.
it's all about. And that you're not best serving your customers if you are writing bad business, right? I mean, that's kind of you're kind of misrepresenting your organization, and you got to have standards, you got to have morals and ethics. And if this thing, if you don't check off any or all of those boxes, then this probably isn't the right industry for you to be in.
Mm.
That maybe you should pursue doing something else in sales and being that greasy car salesman, and instead of helping the industry and helping these companies thrive and grow, making sure that their safety score stays down in any way, shape, or form that you can, and making sure that they have their checks and balances in place, where they're doing their check downs when they leave and when they come back, and they're vetting their employees through that multi-tiered vetting system.
Okay.
Like that's honestly, that's the definition of good business right there.
Yeah. Makes sense. When I think about it, and I think about 200,000 drivers maybe being affected, and let's say 200,000 drivers, just like they're predicting, right, probably get washed out because they can't pass the increased requirements, right, for whatever reason it might be. That creates a vacuum, right? So we're already talking about driver shortage, labor shortage, higher cost of goods because not as much of it can get around, maybe longer delivery times in some ways. That obviously creates a vacuum where new drivers can come in. So do you think that creates a new marketplace where people might get excited, be like, hey, there's a great opportunity where I can become a truck driver now. It pays better because it's a little more stringent on the requirements to become a truck driver. Do you think it would create a situation where the drivers that we lose would be replaced by better drivers? Or do you think it might create just a blank vacuum where, nope, we'll just have a labor shortage and that's it?
Yeah.
Or maybe they get replaced by less qualified drivers, which doesn't seem right.
No, but it happens. It most certainly, if it can happen, it will happen for sure. Right. I think, yes, I do. And in so many words or less, honestly, like it does create opportunity for, I really think that it creates ultimately an opportunity for those non-CDL drivers to potentially step into those roles too. Right.
Okay.
Where I'm rocking a box truck operation or a hot shot operation, and I hadn't really thought about getting CDL'd, but now those loads are paid because they don't really traditionally pay super high, and I've got to drive OTR 1,000 miles, and I don't get to see my wife and kids till next week. And then when I come back next week, I only have a day to see them, and then I'm back on the road again. You understand that these guys are on the road, like OTR, over the road drivers, and they are on the road nonstop. And, I think that it creates that opportunity for the outside of the box thinkers that may have those smaller operations to kind of grow into that space as well.
Yeah. They grow in that space, buy some more trucks, right? So there might be some opportunities for some of the stronger trucking businesses to maybe go and absorb some of the smaller operators that are getting that this kind of damages or hurts, right?
Yeah. Or maybe even hire those guys. I mean, as we start to see, and like, so understand, like, I can own a truck and I can lease onto somebody's authority and basically buy into their insurance right now. And, maybe I've been doing that, and this is now I see a space that's been opened up slightly. Again, that 5% margin, in my opinion, isn't enough to create chaos. I mean, it's certainly going to create disruption, but it's not going to shut the industry down altogether. But we will see some of those guys that have been traditionally leasing onto these companies. Maybe they're seeing the writing on the wall, and they decide that they want to jump ship and go open their own thing and do their own thing. And
Makes sense.
Because I have a standard on, what I'm going to do. And I don't like working for the company that I've been working for, because they've been hiring, people that have that non-domiciled CDL, and, they are illegal. So, I mean, that's really the baseline here. And this is another interesting statistic that I'll throw out there, is that we do see CDL mills, is what they call them, right? Where, like, last year, FMCSA did an audit on these CDL training programs, where I run through a training program, and after I get through the program, poof, now I'm eligible for my CDL because I've been certified through this training program. So last year, FMCSA ran an audit on these training programs and shut down 3,000 of them nationwide because they were misrepresenting, they were fudging the numbers, they were the details are all in the documents, you know, and they're misrepresenting who these people are. They're letting, you know, illegal citizens get that CDL that they're not qualified for. And that is one of those things. This is another part of this bill, is shutting down these CDL mills where people, it's just like pay for play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. What is the benefit for them of doing that? Not shutting them. What is the benefit of just churning out CDLs for CDL's sake? Like, what is? I don't understand the motivation or the benefit behind allowing a bunch of people to get CDLs that maybe aren't qualified. Like, what'd you say, that FMCSA or
Yep.
something? What's the benefit for them of doing that?
So that's the federal agency that regulates trucking, the FMCSA.
So it's just them
right?
being lazy and not doing the work they should do, probably, you think?
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, man. Like, this is the theme of all of this. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
This is I mean, in all honesty, this should have happened back in the 90s, the 2000s, you know, where we're tightening up this industry. And I just don't, from a higher level, I'm looking down at this, like, I don't understand why we're talking about this now in 2026. Why wasn't
this dealt with already?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what are we doing here? So,
Yeah.
and I think it's just something that, you know, it kind of goes under the microscope, or it's not been under the microscope, and they're just like, trucking, who cares, you know?
Well,
And
until young Delilah gets run over, and then somebody cares.
exactly. That's exactly what I was just about to say. So I nail on the head there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's we'll see, I guess, you know, and again, you know, I think that this is the first step of this. We're just going to see this advance more and more and more too. This law is going to spiral into, you know, other regulations and, you know, all of the above.
So if I'm thinking about the commercial trucking companies, right, the drivers and the companies that hire these drivers, they're the ones that are probably, and at some level, right, or like I would say, the drivers that can't renew because of the new regulations, or the companies that can't get their safety score proper because they have drivers that can't renew due to the regulations. They're going to be maybe the biggest losers, so to speak. Who do you think are the biggest winners from this getting passed?
Everybody that's doing things right and by the book.
Okay.
You know, because they've been sitting back on the side, you know, they're running the same lane as these guys. And, you know, at the end of the day, they're literally watching all of this happen and unfold in front of them. And I'm sure they have plenty of examples,
Yeah.
you know, where they've ran into, you know, they've just ran into guys that, I mean, if you can't speak the language, it's hard to read the language. Right.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of my philosophy on it. And that's, again, like, I'm not here to knock anyone down and be like, you know, any certain race or ethnicity shouldn't be on the road, or whatever the case may be. But I'm a firm believer in, man, like, you should be able to read the signs that you're driving by. I mean, this is your life. This is every day too.
Yeah, no, 100%. If you're driving a guided missile around, you better know what you're doing with it.
Right.
And when I'm in the Medicare space, like, we're going through a bunch of regulatory change as well, right? And in that space, we have basically kind of two groups of operators. We have a bunch of operators that are super happy about it, about the stronger compliance requirements, the stronger regulation, because it's going to weed out the weaker, non-compliant type operators. And then you have those operators that that kind of cut the corners and so forth. And they're all, of course, complaining about the legislation and the regulation, because it makes life harder for them. You know, and then sometimes you just have agents that are in the middle. They're like, well, there's more regulation thanks to these bad operators out there. I would assume that the same thing is happening in your industry right now, at least from the commercial trucking operators, right? There's probably a group of them that are like, finally, right? And they're cheering and they're like, this is going to be great. It's going to push a bunch of these drivers out. we can go in there and scoop up that market and take over that market share, that business. And then certainly you have those operators that are like, damn, this is going to hurt. Like this is coming down the road, and they're starting to look at their drivers and they're like, I'm probably going to lose him. I'm probably going to lose him. I'm probably going to lose him. Right.
Yep. Well, and it's, I'd say, you know, and there's multiple tiers to this industry too. I'd say the ones that probably suffer the most are going to be the freight brokers and freight forwarders. You know, the guys that are out there booking these lower paying loads that, hey, this is my go-to company because because of whatever reason. There's no, you know, then they're going to, when they start losing these companies that will take those loads, you know, they're obviously going to book less and make less, you know. That's the reciprocating side of it, you know. And on the insurance side of things, I look at it as, maybe we lose a couple drivers on certain policies. Maybe there's going to be some companies that go out of service and, you know, shut down entirely. But at the end of the day, you know, again, it's about writing good business and having that good customer base and trusting that they're checking off all those boxes that they need to be checking off.
Absolutely.
To stay in the industry.
Yeah. How long have you been working in commercial trucking now?
I say like 2.5 years.
Fourth year. Third year?
This is going to be my third. But I say 3 years going on 10, just because I've been privileged to have the mentors and the right people in my corner. You know, I've advanced. I've gained a lot of knowledge just through having those relationships with the people that I'm around.
What is it about commercial trucking that you like as an agent working
really
in that space?
It's speaking. It's the same with so I do really well with truckers. I also do really well with contractors. It's that blue collar industry that I come from and the relatability. You know, when I get on the phone with them, they drop an F-bomb, I drop an F-bomb. You know, it's matching energy. It's being able to talk to them the way that they want to be talked to. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Speak their language, so to speak. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's really easy speaking with these guys and talking to them. And the hardest part about it is honestly getting off the phone with them or staying on subject. If I'm being honest, like that's the crazy, because again, they're driving all day long. So as soon as they get somebody on the phone and they have an interesting conversation or interesting parts of a conversation, they just run with it. So
right on. Well, one other question that I had in that same kind of vein, what if you were talking to another commercial trucking agent or someone maybe considering getting a commercial trucking, or maybe someone that already has a book, like what is a piece of advice you would give a commercial trucking agent now based on some of the information in this bill and what you feel like is coming down the road?
Just pay attention to the details. That's everything. You know, what kind of loads are these guys running? What kind of operation do they run? That's ultimately the biggest part of it. Is again, I can't emphasize enough on writing good business. That's everything. That writing good business will keep you in business, and writing bad business will take you out of business. And at the end of the day, just making sure all of the alignment is there, you know, with these guys, and they understand that, you know, they can shut down very easily, you know, and that's, and here's a couple good examples, right?
That made me think, is there a quick way that you as an agent can identify what is probably good business versus what is probably not good business? Like,
I pull up
markers or indicators that you see immediately, like, oh yeah, I don't know if I want to write them.
Oh, 100%. Like on the new venture side, it's a little bit harder because they don't have an established. Exactly. So, and again, talk the talk all day, but walking the walk is a whole different story.
Right.
Now on current operations, yeah, man. I mean, I can go into Safer through the FMCSA portal and type in their DOT number and see pretty much just based on that information alone, see how tight of a ship they run. And if they're double the national average on their safety scores or they're out of services, then yeah, man, I'm sorry. Already. I'm not going to be able to do anything with you.
Makes sense.
Because those guys will shut down and they'll leave you as fast as they come in, and that, you know, on our side of the things, those chargebacks really hurt, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
Chargebacks are no fun.
yeah,
They're part of the business, but
They
they're
are.
no fun.
they are 100%.
Right on. Well, man, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come bring some value to my show and chat it up on this and help some of the agents kind of be aware that this is something coming down the road that they should be prepared for. But if agents want to reach out to you, they want to talk commercial trucking, they want to get some tips, maybe they want to buy Todd's $1 Million Trucking course, whatever it is. What's the best way to get in touch with Todd Wilson?
Facebook, man.
Facebook, man.
Yeah, I'm not on it 24/7. You know, but I'm on it quite a bit. And that's honestly, if you have a question about, you know, if you're in the PNC space or you're looking to get into the PNC space and you have a question regarding really commercial anything,
Mhm.
that's the lane I run in really hard. So yeah, you can feel free to just hit me on private message. I've got a public profile, so you know, there's no blockers up on that or anything like that.
Right on. Well, dude, thank you again for stopping by, man. Thank all you guys for tuning in. If you're in the commercial trucking space, buckle up. You better get your English language proficiency up to snuff and make sure your drivers are good. You heard it here first. Stay tuned for more news. We will let you know more about this bill as it's moving through. And like I said, it's probably going to clear Senate if it hadn't already. And we'll probably see it implemented here pretty quick. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next week for Tuesday training. Y'all have a good one.